today we have the Cranberries here from Ireland. And yeah, that's our guitar player, Noel, and that's the drummer, Fergal, if I say it right, and on the bass, Mike or Michael.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming around. And yeah, even if it's already been a year and a few weeks, I just want to say, I don't know, feel really sorry for your loss. And yeah, it's hard to find the right words, and I don't know, there weren't too many interviews, I guess, without Dolores. I don't know, I couldn't find any on the internet.
No, not really, no.
So if I'm saying anything that, I don't know, whatever, if there's something wrong, just tell me, because that's even for me somehow a difficult situation.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. At first, how are you? And can you enjoy the maybe sunniest February in the history of German weather?
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been a very busy kind of week. We've been here, we got here Sunday, we arrived in Berlin, and we've been traveling around since then. So yeah, we all packed big coats and jumpers and the whole thing, and expecting it to be very cold, but it's been fantastic.
All right. You just told me you don't even have time to eat. I never thought that the rock star life would be like that.
It's busy, yeah. It's good to be working because you don't have too much time to think then. Then at night, you tend to get a little bit emotional, maybe more so.
All right. I'm aware of the fact that there haven't been too many interviews with Dolores until yet. So yeah, if any of my questions offend you guys, just say something. But I think a lot of fans are still struggling with the death of Dolores, and you were her friends for decades and like a kind of family, of course. But how are you dealing, or how did you deal with the grief? Did the album help you somehow because you had something to do, something to concentrate, to focus on?
Yeah, I think looking back at it now, we kind of think that it was probably like a form of therapy for us, because even though we were kind of listening to Dolores every day, obviously when we went in to record, it brought back some really, really nice memories of the really, really good times, especially the early days of, the four of us working together. And I think we've kind of noticed as well that in the last few weeks, it was probably the best thing to do at that time was to go in and record it then. Kind of if we went back to it now a year later and kind of, if we'd have said, oh, let's give ourselves more time, we may not have felt the same, or may not have even done this album at all. So it was kind of part of the process. I think it's kind of hard to imagine how you would have gone on or what you would have done if we hadn't have gone in and done the album, and we kind of captured that emotion, I think, as well in the studio. And that was something that Stephen Street, our producer, kind of said to us, you should do this now, as you feel this way. So it was definitely, in a funny kind of way, definitely a form of therapy for us.
So you never really thought about taking a break, like a year or more, how much time you ever needed? And
no, I think a few months, because we had began the process of preparing this album, and Dolores was very excited about it. She had done a lot of demos and was talking over and back to Noel and sending songs over and back. So about a month after she passed, we had to listen through what was on the hard drives and kind of pick through different bits and pieces and said, there could be enough for an album here. So we spoke to her family to ask how they'd feel, if we were to finish the work she'd started, and they were behind us all the way, and they were very supportive. And then we spoke to Stephen, and he loved what he heard, and said, it could be a really good album here.
All right. In the end, it's an album for the fans, of course, but also at the same time for Dolores. There's a bigger, deeper message. Maybe you could say what it is for you in your own words.
For us, like we count ourselves really lucky that we've been able to do this album, because if Dolores had died in January last year and we hadn't kind of any demos or anything, the band would have just kind of fizzled out. We would have never had closure on the thing. So to have this like gift, if you want to call it that, is amazing that we can, we got to record this album with Dolores on there, and it's kind of a way to say goodbye to everybody. And that, and the fact that like we think it's probably one of our strongest albums that we've ever done, musically and lyrically. it was just one of those things where everything fell into place, and it wasn't by design. It's just the way it happened. So I think the fans, we hope, will get what it is we've done here.
All right, and like you said, you worked again with producer Stephen Street again, like on every big album of the Cranberries, or on every. I don't know if you ever had
Most
another
albums,
producer.
There was a couple of albums we didn't work with Stephen. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I guess he also became a good friend of you in the last 2-3 decades. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because working so closely like that with someone, and we just clicked with him from the first day, and he really got our sense of humor. As well as being professional and getting the style of music we were into, and that it was also a friendship that developed over decades.
Just on the same wavelength.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, maybe each one of you could share any special, any beautiful moment or memory, just when you think of anything with Dolores that you imagine when you think back right now.
I think actually the most memories that tend to come up are from the early days, back in the early 90s when we started touring first, doing small clubs and touring around the UK and Europe, and they seem to be the things that stand out the most, doing sweaty clubs and things like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, it's funny how I found that in the weeks that followed after she died, it's like you don't remember the things so much from the last couple of years. They're not the first thing that comes into your mind. You remember the first day you met her, and doing the first gig and doing the first demo and all the first time things, and how much kind of fun we had. Even though at the time, it was hard going because sleeping on floors and all squashed into one tiny van. At the time, you think, "God, this is tough going." But when you look back on it afterwards, you kind of look at it like, that was your gang with nobody knew about. You were just doing your thing, and you were trying to get the word out there about the band, and eventually, obviously, it did. But they're really, really nice memories to have.
Okay, no, there's only Fergal missing.
Yeah, the same as that. That was the thing that I noticed after Dolores passed away, was all those early memories just came flowing back, and it was such a great time. We were late teens, early 20s, and going off traveling around the world, seeing different countries, and
okay.
I mean, we actually played in Mannheim in the early 90s with the Hothouse Flowers. I remember that, and being in a bus with no air conditioning.
I was too young to be there. I'm sorry. Okay, that's interesting. So each one of you, when you think of the best moments in your career, it's not the biggest concerts in the biggest arenas and everything.
I think you kind of feel like you're more in control of those times because there isn't, big record companies on your back, and you don't have managers kind of constantly going, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Not only feeling pushed around.
It's just your thing. Yeah. Because nobody, no one knows who you are, and people don't really care. So it's your thing. And then as the bigger you get, it's kind of one of the downsides is the entourage gets bigger, and it can get a bit crazy then.
All right. Maybe that's a dumb question, but what's your favorite Cranberries record album?
This was the moment. This one is kind of standing out because it's fresh still, and it's kind of a real. It reminds me of the first couple of albums as well. It's kind of gone back to that type of sound. Obviously, we're better musicians now, so it's more kind of there's a modern type of twist to it as well, like so.
And if you look back, what do you think is the most underrated album?
Roses.
Yeah. There's some great songs in that album, and not many people know, but there's some really, really nice songs in
Good
that
to know.
album.
I have to listen to it after you're gone.
Yeah, check it out.
What was the craziest, funniest, or weirdest moment you ever had with a fan? You came up on stage or backstage, I don't know, whatever.
I don't think we weren't so bad, but Dolores used to get a lot of people with tattoos of her face and their back and things like that, and you get a.
It was kind of weird because you went from, doing small clubs, and then we had this big success where, and you do, like we used to do these kind of record store signings when there was record shops, you'd go in and you'd sit along, but people would come up to be shaking and crying and you're kind of going, it's hard to get your kind of that mentality, kind of get it. And it's just, really, really breaking down now. And you're just thinking, I'm just, I'm not different from anyone else, but they used to just do that. It's crazy.
Okay, yeah, I was also really excited. Oh my God, I'm gonna have an interview with
Yeah.
the Cranberries, and everybody said, "What? The Cranberries are coming here?" And now you're just, it's weird. Okay, I think you find yourself in a very strange situation. I guess there are only a few bands that already knew they will definitely be working on the last album they ever will be doing. So, are you anyway able to look forward to the release date? I mean,
Yeah, I think that we've lived with it for nearly a year, you know, and it's kind of we've gone around telling people about it for a year. I think they're sick of listening to us, our friends and families. So it's great to get it out there, and you know, it's kind of a double-edged thing where you're really, really excited to get it out there and you know, see and hear what people think of it. But the downside is, I guess, obviously once it's out there, it marks the end of the band as well.
okay, I already had a chance to listen to it, and I have to say, buy the album. It's beautiful. It's pretty obvious that in the end will be a very special album, not only to yourself. I mean, overall, maybe more than any other record. Yeah. If you look at the new album in its entirety, what would you say is new or different? What did you do in some different kind of way?
I think it's the fact that the Doors are singing quite softly on a lot of the songs. So there's an innocence there that was kind of on the first two albums. So there's a little bit of going back to go forward, if you know what I mean. You know, we're kind of looking back towards those early albums and capturing that sound, but the fact that we're a lot older and more experienced as musicians, it's going to sound a little bit more mature as well.
Yeah. Okay. What motivated you while working on In the End? I mean, did it feel for you like consolidating the legacy of the Cranberries somehow? Also, I mean,
I suppose like it was kind of the emotion was quite high, so that's why Stephen Street said we'll go into the studio pretty quick and do it. So I think that comes across in the album, and you know, we just really got stuck into it, put the emotions aside, and.
But that must have been tough. On
Yeah, it
some
was
days.
tough. It was, especially when you put on the headphones. When you got in there in the morning, and heard Loris's voice coming through the headphones. But you had to kind of push that aside and just try and get on with the job at hand. So yeah, it was tough in that sense.
All right. Like I said, I could already listen to the new record, and for me, it all seems really completely round. It all fits together perfectly, and of course, a lot of very sad songs. And Noel, you were normally always also songwriter on many songs. How was it this time with the songwriting with Dolores? Did you share it again, or?
Yeah, the usual kind of turning over the ideas over and back, kind of just to get the blueprint of the song before we'd all go in together and make it Cranberry songs. Because the demos sometimes don't even really sound like a proper Cranberry song until you get the four individuals on there. So, but like it was approached like any other album in that let's just start writing another Cranberries album. So like nobody was to know what the future held. We're just really lucky that we had as much done as we did. Between kind of June to December of 2017 was kind of the real burst of, you know, there was little ideas floating around all right before that, but that was the main thing there. So, but it was just really, let's write an album and go in and do it. So, like, I don't think there's any kind of sadder songs on there than there is on other Cranberries albums. It was just, you know, obviously with everything that's happened, people will read more into certain things.
Absolutely.
But there's really kind of like, I think even the single All Over Now is a lot of people were surprised it's a big rock kind of song, you know, and there's a song there called Summer Song, which is a real upbeat kind of, you know. So there's a lot more like that. So it's not by any means a kind of a depressing kind of dark album.
Yeah, it's just a context people.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you listen to it in another way. Just a lot of songs sound like a farewell somehow on the album, especially the first single All Over Now, of course, and people are saying a lot on YouTube and whatever. I can imagine that's hard for you, but from the guitar work, it reminded me of The Cure somehow a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you heard that
That's
before.
exactly what it was supposed to. Like,
Really?
Yeah. The short version of that really is that on the tour, the last tour we did, Dolores had seen on TV or wherever online, she'd watched the Cure concert a few nights before.
All right.
And she'd said, you know the way in the Cure songs that they have these long, long intros where he doesn't have to sing. She said, any chance you could write something like that? So in a gig, I can take some time off, really, basically, is what she was looking
grab
for.
a beer or whatever.
Yeah, you know. And that kind of planted the seed then. So when kind of the song was coming about, like the original demo with just the instrumental, it was even longer. That intro was really long
Alright.
for her to go off and, you know, have a cup of
Fun.
tea. But obviously we've shortened it down and down now. But the kind of the original kind of seed of that song was the Cure were kind of floating around there.
That's funny. Okay, yeah, it sounded a bit like the riff is a bit
Gospel,
like In
yeah.
Between Days or I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I know possibly you can tell us which songs will be released as the next few singles. I don't know what your manager says about that.
He's not
He's
Not a manager.
He's no
it's just
manager.
a driver. Okay. Yeah, maybe you can tell us something about the next, just
Yeah.
3 songs maybe that
I
we will
think we
play
know
on the
next
radio.
one, yeah.
Yeah, Wake Me When It's Over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
Wake Me When It's Over.
Wake-
is
Wake
the-
Me When It's
will
Over.
be the next single, yeah.
What can you tell us about this one?
It's one of Dolores' songs, and it was pretty well together on the demo even before we began. But I think it kind of, I find that it kind of reminds me of Zombie kind of style-wise. It's that kind of softer verse with a big
chorus, yeah.
chorus where the whole band opens up. And she sounds great in it as well. She sounds really strong vocally. And we've just been kind of trying to figure out video ideas now over the past few days as we've been driving around Germany.
So there's still a lot to do for you in the next few months.
Sure,
Yeah, there'll always be stuff. Like, there's a lot of, I think this October coming is the 25th anniversary of the second album, and the record company are looking at trying to do something for that. And, you know, so there'll always be, it's such a massive catalogue, you know, you're never going to be fully away from it. I
Is
think.
there still some unreleased stuff in your vaults that
No.
fans can be?
No, unfortunately, no. There's probably live versions of things and acoustic versions we did for radio stations and things like that. But as far as new songs go, that's it. We kind of trawled through everything.
All right.
And there was some bits and pieces that couldn't really be made into songs. You know, they were just ideas more than anything. So
Okay. Is there any other song you think that will be one of the next singles? I'm just asking because probably we will play them all, and I need some.
Yeah. I don't know what you would do as a third single.
we were talking about maybe In the End
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a sweet song and it's one of those catchy ones that sticks in your head.
It's
But
maybe the most saddest song
yeah,
of the
a
album,
little bit as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
and the last one, right?
Yeah, it was the very last one we recorded as well for the album.
Yeah. But beautiful acoustic guitar on that also. Yeah.
Cheers.
All right, then, like you stated, in September 2018, you will disband after the release of In the End. But you guys are musicians by heart, and I don't know, but I guess it's all you can do. And what else is there? I mean, yeah.
Start applying for jobs.
No, but yeah.
No,
Did you stop making plans, or is it?
No, we've been really, really busy with this for the last 12 months because there was a time, even though we were in doing the album, you still were getting over the whole shock of everything. Even, you know, you wake up some mornings and it's the first thing you think of, like, that she's not here anymore. So I think the combination of getting over that, and then we've been working on little bits and pieces on this album the whole time, it's been hard to focus past that point. I'd say by the time, you know, May comes, we're probably going to be just, you know, it'll probably hit you, then you'll be exhausted, take a bit of time away, and then start thinking about what the next chapter will bring.
All right. I think I'm already through with my questions. If there's anything I forgot, please just say something. If there's anything you...
No, I think we covered a lot there.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming
Cheers.
around.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Ja, wie gesagt, die Cranberries, das letzte Album In the End, kommt am 26. April raus. Wie gesagt, natürlich auch mit dem Gesang von Dolores O'Riordan, wurde alles schon vorher aufgezeichnet, glücklicherweise. Und ich habe schon reingehört in die Platte und ist auf jeden Fall sehr vielversprechend. Und ich denke, gerade die Cranberries-Fans, die die Alben der 90er sehr geschätzt haben, sollten sich die Platte auf jeden Fall mal reinziehen. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye bye.